How many times today have you said, "I'll try to be healthier, try to be more successful, try to find happiness"? But what if this single word, this seemingly innocent commitment, is quietly sabotaging everything you want to achieve? On the gravestone of Charles Bukowski, one of literature's most uncompromising voices, are carved just two words: don't try. Why would a man who spent 30 years getting rejected, who transformed decades of spectacular failure into immortal art, choose this as his final message to the world? Now, what follows might just be the most brutal and liberating philosophy you've ever encountered, one that goes against everything our self-help obsessed culture teaches about effort, motivation, and success. Real wisdom doesn't come from TED Talks or motivational seminars. It doesn't emerge from perfectly curated Instagram feeds or LinkedIn success stories. Sometimes the deepest truths come from society's rejects, the ones who've been broken down so completely that they have nothing left to lose, and therefore nothing left to hide. Charles Bukowski understood this better than anyone. Born in Germany in 1920 to a brutal father who took his frustrations out with his fists, Bukowski's childhood was a masterclass in disappointment. His father would beat him for the smallest infractions, sometimes just for existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. This planted the seeds of a man who would never, ever fit society's mold. But here's what society doesn't want to admit. There's something uniquely valuable about the perspective of those who've hit absolute bottom. They've been stripped of illusions. They can't afford the luxury of self-deception that success often provides. When you have no reputation to protect, no image to maintain, no expectations to meet, a dangerous honesty emerges, one that reveals truths the rest of us spend our lives desperately avoiding. Pain had made Bukowski authentic in a way that comfort never could, and that authenticity would become his greatest weapon. For 3 decades, Bukowski lived what most would call a catastrophically wasted life. He jumped between soul-crushing jobs: postal worker, truck driver, dishwasher, security guard, anything that paid enough for rent and left him with enough energy to write. Every morning, after nights spent drowning his loneliness in cheap alcohol, he'd sit at his beat-up typewriter and bleed onto paper. His writing was raw as ground meat. No polish, no pretense, just brutal honesty about sex without romance, work without meaning, and dreams that died slowly in fluorescent-lit offices. The literary world wanted nothing to do with him. Publishers rejected him like he was carrying a contagious disease. Critics found his work too crude, too honest, too real for decent consumption. His stories contain no heroes, just ordinary people struggling with the magnificent mediocrity of existence. He accumulated rejection letters like some people collect stamps, enough to wallpaper a small apartment. Each no was a small death, but something extraordinary was happening with each failure. He was developing complete immunity to others' judgment. When you're told no enough times, it stops stinging, it becomes background noise. And in that emotional numbness, a rare kind of freedom is born. The freedom to be exactly who you are, without apology or modification. Bukowski once joked that he was the world's most successful failure. He wore his rejections like battle scars, not wounds. At 50, when most people have resigned themselves to quiet desperation, Bukowski received an offer that would change everything. A small publisher called Black Sparrow Press offered him a contract, but it meant making an impossible choice: keep his stable but soul-crushing job at the post office, or risk everything on the uncertain promise of writing. For any rational person, the choice was obvious. He was 50 years old, had no savings, no safety net, no guarantee that writing would pay the bills. The post office job was mind-numbing, but it was predictable, safe, respectable. But Bukowski saw something others couldn't: the difference between dying slowly and living intensely. The post office was killing him one bureaucratic day at a time. Writing, even with all its risks, represented the chance to be genuinely alive. He chose to starve as a writer rather than suffocate as a clerk. His resignation letter was legendary in its brevity: "I quit." No explanation, no apology, no hedging his bets. This wasn't courage. It was recognition. He finally understood that some risks aren't really risks at all. They're the only honest choices available. This brings us to the heart of Bukowski's philosophy, carved forever in stone. Don't try. At first glance, this seems to contradict everything we've been taught about achievement and determination. Our culture worships effort. We celebrate the grind. We're obsessed with trying harder, pushing through, never giving up. Even ancient philosophers like the Stoics taught disciplined effort. Marcus Aurelius wrote about enduring hardship through willpower and rational control. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he declared. The Stoic approach was to try harder, think clearer, control better. But Bukowski saw trying as a sophisticated form of self-sabotage, a way of maintaining emotional distance from your own life. When you say you'll try to do something, you're already preparing an escape route for when things get difficult. Think about it. You don't try to love someone you're genuinely in love with. You just love them. You don't try to breathe. You breathe. Your heart doesn't try to beat. It beats. The most essential things in life happen naturally, without forced effort or calculated commitment. Trying is what you do when you don't really want something badly enough to pay the full price for it. It's a hedge bet, a safety net that paradoxically makes failure more likely. As Bukowski put it, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Most people read that and think he's being dramatic. He wasn't. He was being honest about what authentic living actually costs. Going all the way means accepting that you'll lose things along the path. Relationships that can't handle the pressure, financial security, social approval, maybe even your sanity. The crowd will abandon you when they realize you're serious about being yourself. Bukowski knew this intimately. Even after achieving fame, he remained exactly the same. Crude, drunk, politically incorrect. Fame simply amplified his wild nature. He kept drinking, kept fighting, kept writing about prostitutes, and betting on horse races. Intellectuals expected him to evolve, to become more sophisticated, more worthy of success. He refused to become an improved version of himself. Success hadn't changed him because he'd never been trying to impress anyone in the first place. This path inevitably leads to isolation, and Bukowski saw this as an unexpected gift rather than a punishment. Isolation separates the merely curious from the genuinely committed. It's like a natural filter that eliminates those who aren't really willing to pay the price for authenticity. Most people back down when they see what it costs to be real. They prefer the safety of mediocrity to the risk of genuine living. But a very few, are willing to pay the full price. These rare individuals discover what Bukowski called the good fight. It's a battle fought without spectators, without applause, only with the company of your own demons and the intimate certainty that it's worth it. Perhaps most radically, Bukowski's philosophy embraces what our Instagram-perfect culture desperately tries to deny. Beauty exists in the ugly and brutal aspects of life too. He wrote about addiction, loneliness, failure, and despair, not to romanticize them, but to acknowledge them as integral parts of human experience. This puts him at odds with nearly every other philosophical tradition. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment and can be transcended through enlightenment. Positive psychology focuses on happiness, gratitude, and optimizing well-being. Even existentialists, like Camus, who acknowledged life's absurdity, approached it with intellectual detachment. Bukowski took a different path entirely. He didn't try to transcend suffering or rationalize it away. He dove headfirst into the muck and found poetry there. Our modern world spends fortunes trying to anesthetize pain, avoid discomfort, and escape harsh realities. Antidepressants, endless entertainment, social media dopamine hits, compulsive consumption, all designed to help us avoid confronting life's most difficult aspects. Bukowski did the opposite. He stared directly at his demons and invited them to dance. He found poetry in hangovers, wisdom in humiliation, art in absolute failure. This isn't masochism, it's completeness. You can't experience only the positive side of existence any more than you can have a coin with only one face. True love comes with jealousy and fear of loss. Real freedom brings loneliness and the weight of your own choices. Greatness requires sacrifice and the courage to disappoint people who want you to stay small. He once wrote, "Sometimes you climb out of bed in the morning and you think, 'I'm not going to make it,' but you laugh inside, remembering all the times you felt that way. That laughter, dark, knowing, utterly unsentimental, is the sound of someone who's made peace with the full spectrum of human experience." The cross you choose to carry. This leads to perhaps Bukowski's most challenging insight. Finding your true purpose isn't a Zen experience. It's not a peaceful revelation that leaves you feeling centered and aligned with the universe. Real purpose is like choosing your cross to bear. It's a burden you select, but one that will demand everything from you. Here's where Bukowski diverges sharply from someone like Alan Watts, the philosopher who popularized Eastern wisdom in the West. Watts taught about letting go and the futility of striving, but from a place of spiritual transcendence. He spoke of flowing like water, of effortless action, of finding peace through non-attachment. Bukowski's "don't try" came from somewhere entirely different. Not from meditation cushions, but from barroom floors. Not from enlightened detachment, but from raw, desperate engagement with life's brutality. Both men rejected conventional trying, but Watts found wisdom through rising above human suffering, while Bukowski found it by diving straight into the depths. You know something has genuine value when you're willing to suffer for it without complaint, without seeking sympathy, without expecting applause. If you're not paying a real price, if you're not sacrificing other important things, maybe you haven't found what truly matters to you. For Bukowski, writing wasn't a career choice. It was a compulsion stronger than hunger. He wrote when he couldn't afford paper, when no one would publish his work, when everyone told him it was pointless. He wrote because stopping would have been spiritual suicide. This obsession sustained him through hundreds of failures. He was rejected more times than most people even try, but he persisted, not out of stubborn pride, but out of vital necessity. Writing was his way of proving he was still alive in a world that seemed designed to erase him. Imagine how Bukowski would react to our current culture of curated authenticity and performed vulnerability. Instagram posts about being real with perfect lighting. LinkedIn humble brags, disguised as inspirational content. TikTok videos about mental health awareness that somehow make suffering seem trendy. He'd laugh, that dark, knowing laugh, at how we've managed to turn even honesty into a performance. Compare this to how other philosophers might view our digital age. A Stoic like Marcus Aurelius would probably counsel discipline in our social media consumption, rational control over our need for validation. A Buddhist might speak of digital detachment, of not being enslaved by the endless scroll. But Bukowski, he'd see right through to the core deception. We're all still trying to be something other than what we are, just with better filters and more sophisticated lies. In our world of infinite self-optimization, endless personal branding, and algorithmic validation, Bukowski's philosophy becomes more radical than ever. The idea of simply being yourself, messy, contradictory, imperfect, without trying to package it for consumption, is almost revolutionary. We live in a time when everyone's trying to optimize their lives, hack their productivity, maximize their potential. Bukowski would see this as the ultimate form of trying, and therefore the ultimate form of self-sabotage. Stop rehearsing, start living. Here's Bukowski's final, brutal truth. You're going to be destroyed anyway. Time will claim you. Life will break you. People will forget you. The world will continue spinning without you. This is the only absolute certainty we have. The only real choice you get is deciding what destroys you. Let it be something you loved completely, something worth every scar, every sleepless night, every sacrifice. Let it be a passion that consumed you, rather than a safety that preserved you. Let it be the result of living intensely, rather than existing carefully. Stop trying to love. Love completely, or don't love at all. Stop trying to create. Create obsessively, or find something else to do with your time. Stop trying to live. live with such intensity that it terrifies you, or admit you're already dead. Bukowski's gravestone doesn't say, "Try harder," or "Never give up," or any of the other motivational cliches we plaster on gym walls. It says, "Don't try," because trying is for people who haven't found what they die for. Find what you die for, then stop trying and start doing. In Bukowski's own words, "We are here to drink beer. We are here to kill war. We are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us." The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. Don't try to take them. Just take them. What have you been trying to do that you need to either fully commit to or abandon completely? What cross are you avoiding because you're afraid of what it might cost you? Share your thoughts below. And remember, sometimes the most radical act is simply refusing to pretend anymore.